is a 2018 science fiction thriller film. The film tells about Elizabeth, a young woman who discovers that her new husband is hiding secrets. Henry is 60 years old, he is a scientist. He owns a luxury villa on the hill. Elizabeth, a new bride, is brought home on her wedding day by her husband, Henry. Henry's house is palatial, and only two other people live there. The housekeeper Claire, and Henry's adult son Oliver. Oliver is blind from birth. That night, Henry and Elizabeth have a romantic dinner with candles and flowers. After that, they have sex all night. The day later, Henry shows Elizabeth around the house, from the outside pool to the kitchen. He tells Elizabeth that everything now belongs to her. When they come across a room in the basement, Elizabeth offers to enter the room. But Henry says that she can enter any room except that room. This is his laboratory, and no one allowed to come. The day later, Henry has to go on business. Elizabeth wakes up on the king-sized bed. She suddenly felt lonely in this mansion. She doesn't know exactly what she wants. She tries to start a conversation with housekeeper Claire, but she ignored Elizabeth. After lunch, Elizabeth feels so bored. Even though now she is a queen in her own castle. That night, Elizabeth cannot sleep. Because of the curiosity, she decides to go to the forbidden room. The room is like a giant refrigerator. There are 5 boxes in the middle of the room. Elizabeth pushes the button to open a box. At that time, she discovers clones of herself. She runs out of the room in a panic, leaving the door open. The next morning, Henry returns. When he plays the piano for Elizabeth, he notices that her attitude is not right. Henry hugs Elizabeth in his arms and said, "Do not hide anything from me. All the liars have to pay the price." But Elizabeth insists that she doesn't lie anything. That night, after having sex, Elizabeth comes to the forbidden room again. But she cannot expect that Henry quickly discovers her deceit. He waits for her on the stair. And in there, he murders Elizabeth brutally. Claire and Oliver seem too used to this. They dig a deep hole and throw Elizabeth's body down there. The day later, they act as nothing happened. Claire only reminds Henry to stop doing this. The two had an argument, and Claire leaves immediately. At that time, have a police come to Henry's house and ask about Elizabeth. 6 weeks later, another Elizabeth is traveling home with Henry after their wedding, exactly as before. Henry, once again, shows his house for Elizabeth. They still have sex madly at night. And the new Elizabeth goes through the same experiences. But that time, when Elizabeth screams and runs away, she wakes Elizabeth in the box up. She walks out of the room and heads to Elizabeth's bedroom. But she do nothing. The next morning, Henry wakes Elizabeth up. She scares and hides in the bathroom. But Henry is able to enter the room very quickly. But this Elizabeth is more resistant than the previous Elizabeth. She manages to kill Henry before he can kill her. After that, she tries to escape from this creepy house. But she finds Claire and Oliver come back at that time. She tries to pretend everything is fine. But when Claire and Oliver find out what has happened and that Henry is dead, Claire has a heart attack and is taken to the hospital. Elizabeth is about to take the opportunity to run away from the mansion, but she is stopped by Oliver. He helps Elizabeth get rid of the body. After that, the previous police comes to visit again. He always wants to meet Elizabeth. He wonders about Elizabeth's existence. When he is about to tell Elizabeth about what had happened before in this house, Oliver shoots him by a gun.
Did I get him? Oh my God! Did I get him? Yes! Nobody needs to feel bad about it. Why did you do that?
Oliver says that he thinks that man wants to hurt Elizabeth, so he decides to be one step ahead. Elizabeth realizes that she is just a clone of the real Elizabeth. But she cannot accept the truth. When Elizabeth calms down, she and Oliver deal with the cop's body. Oliver imprisons Elizabeth, and asks her to read Claire's journal to him. He tells her that he will not release her until she does. The journal records all the Henry's scientific achievements. When he was retirement, he was a billionaire. At that time, he started to make a project that can create clones of Elizabeth. Elizabeth was Henry's wife, but she died of a rare medical condition. He hired Claire to help him to perfect the clones. The initial attempts were abortive, but eventually they succeeded. From the journal, it is learned that Henry and Claire have awoken 5 clones in total, including the current Elizabeth. The journal also reveals Claire's suspicions that Oliver is actually a clone of Henry. The new Elizabeth reads the journal, which tells how Henry and Claire initially met and details their work together on the cloning experiments. They had a brief intimate relationship at this time, but later Claire discovered that Henry simply wished to relive his wedding night with each new cloned Elizabeth and then murder them. When Elizabeth tells Oliver this, he states that Henry blinded him out of jealousy, not liking the way Oliver looked at some of the earlier clones. Elizabeth attacks Oliver and tries to escape, but suddenly a new Elizabeth clone appears, holding a shotgun. Confused and disoriented, the new clone shoots and kills Oliver. Elizabeth is also fatally wounded by the new clone, but before she dies she tells the clone to read Claire's journal. Recovered from her heart attack, Claire returns to the house from the hospital. Then the new Elizabeth leaves to start life on her own. What do you think about the movie? Please comment on the section below. Thank you for watching.